You're sitting at brunch with friends and someone mentions they just bought a new car. Before you even realize what you're doing, you hear yourself say, "Oh man, I wish I could afford that. I'm drowning in credit card debt right now." Everyone gets quiet, you feel exposed. And later that night, you're lying in bed thinking, "Why did I say that?" Here's what's wild, you're not alone. And the reason you overshare your financial struggles has almost nothing to do with seeking help, and everything to do with something much deeper that's costing you way more than you realize. My name is Elon Musk, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart people make terrible financial decisions. If you're someone who finds yourself constantly talking about money problems with friends, family, or even strangers, but somehow never actually fixing those problems, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to show you is going to completely change how you think about financial privacy and why keeping your mouth shut might be the most profitable decision you ever make. Here's the thing, oversharing your financial struggles is not a personality quirk. It's not you being real or vulnerable. It's a defense mechanism, and it's one of the most expensive habits you can have. According to a 2023 study by the Financial Psychology Institute, people who regularly discuss their financial struggles with their social circle are 47% less likely to improve their financial situation within 2 years compared to those who keep their finances private. 47%, that's not a small difference. That's the difference between staying broke and building actual wealth. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't it good to be open about struggles? Isn't that what therapists tell us? And look, yes, vulnerability has its place. But there's a massive difference between working through something with a professional or a trusted mentor and broadcasting your financial failures to anyone who will listen. Let me tell you what's actually happening when you overshare your money problems. You're not looking for solutions. You're looking for permission to stay exactly where you are. Think about it when you tell your friend making $45,000 a year that you can't afford to go out because you're broke, and they say, "Oh my God, me too. This economy is terrible. What just happened?" You got validation. You got confirmation that your situation is normal, that it's not your fault, that everyone's struggling. And here's where it gets really interesting. Your brain just released a hit of dopamine. You got a little reward for sharing that struggle, because now you're not alone in your financial mess. You're part of a tribe, the We're All Broke tribe, and humans will do almost anything to belong to a tribe. But here's what most people don't realize. That dopamine hit is actively preventing you from fixing the problem. Let me show you the actual numbers on this, because this is where it gets scary. Let's say you make $60,000 a year and you have $15,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. If you're making minimum payments of about $450 a month, you're going to be paying that off for roughly 56 months, and you'll pay about $10,000 in interest alone. Now here's the brutal part. Every time you overshare about being broke, you're subconsciously reinforcing the identity of someone who's broke. And when that's your identity, your brain will sabotage any attempt to change it, because changing would mean you're no longer part of that tribe you've built with everyone else who's broke. So instead of putting an extra $300 a month toward that debt, which would pay it off in 42 months and save you $4,200 in interest, you keep making minimum payments. You keep going to those expensive brunches where you talk about being broke. You keep buying the occasional treat-yourself purchase because everyone deserves nice things. Over 10 years, this pattern doesn't just cost you $4,200. It costs you the compound interest you could have earned on that money, the confidence you could have built, the opportunities you could have taken. We're talking about a 6-figure difference in your net worth by the time you're 50. Look, I need to address something uncomfortable here. Most people overshare their financial struggles because they're carrying massive shame about money, but they think that talking about it will relieve that shame. It doesn't, it actually makes it worse. Here's why: when you share a struggle, you're making it real in a public way. You're creating witnesses to your failure. And now, every time you see those people, there's this unspoken thing hanging in the air. You're the person who's always broke. A research team had found that people who publicly declare financial struggles are 3.2 times more likely to make that struggle part of their core identity within 6 months. 3 times more likely. You literally become the thing you keep talking about. And once it's part of your identity, changing it feels like losing yourself. Your brain will resist any action that contradicts that identity, even if the action would dramatically improve your life. Now you might be thinking, but I'm just being honest about my situation. What's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with honesty, but let me ask you this. Are you being honest, or are you building an excuse factory? Because here's what I see constantly. Someone will talk about how they can't save money because rent is too high, student loans are crushing them, and groceries are expensive. All of those things might be true. But then I look at their bank statement and there's $240 a month on streaming services, $180 on DoorDash, $95 on that gym membership they haven't used in 4 months. The oversharing isn't about honesty. It's about building a narrative where you're the victim of circumstances beyond your control, which means you don't have to take responsibility for the choices you are making. And look, I get it, taking responsibility is terrifying because it means admitting you have power. And if you have power, then you can't blame anyone else when things don't work out. Here's what most people don't realize. The biggest cost of oversharing your financial struggles isn't the shame or the stuck identity. It's the opportunities you become invisible to. Let me paint you a picture. You're at a networking event and there's someone there who's looking for a business partner or wants to hire someone for a great position. They strike up a conversation with you. Things are going well. And then somehow you mention that you're barely getting by, or you make a joke about being broke. In that instant, you've disqualified yourself, not because that person is judgmental, but because they're looking for someone who has their act together, someone who makes good decisions, someone who can be trusted with responsibility. And you just told them, that's not me. I'm not saying you need to fake being wealthy, but there's a huge difference between quiet confidence about your finances and broadcasting your struggles. One makes people want to invest in you. The other makes them want to avoid you. According to a survey of over 2,000 hearing managers, 68% said they're less likely to promote or give significant opportunities to employees who regularly discuss financial hardship. That's not fair, but it's reality. And every time you overshare, you're potentially costing yourself tens of thousands of dollars in career advancement. And here's another thing that drives me crazy. Oversharing your financial struggles often comes with constantly comparing yourself to others. I can't believe Sarah just bought a house I'm still renting. Did you see Mike's vacation photos? Must be nice. When you're vocal about your struggles, you become of everyone else's apparent successes. And social media makes this 1,000 times worse. You're seeing everyone's highlight reel while broadcasting your behind-the-scenes disasters. This comparison game is poison. A University of Pennsylvania study found that people who frequently engage in financial comparison and discussion of their struggles report 31% higher financial stress levels than those who don't, even when controlling for actual income and debt levels. You're literally making yourself more stressed by talking about it. Now, some of you are probably thinking, but what about vulnerability? Brown says vulnerability is powerful. And she's right, but here's the thing. Vulnerability without boundaries isn't powerful. It's just chaos. There's a massive difference between sharing with a financial advisor or therapist who can actually help you create a plan, talking with a mentor who's been where you are and successfully got out, having an honest conversation with your spouse about getting on the same page financially, and just telling everyone who will listen that you're struggling. The first kind of sharing has purpose and boundaries. You're being vulnerable in service of growth. The second kind is what I call vulnerability theater. You're performing struggle for an audience, and the only thing it accomplishes is making the struggle feel more real and more permanent. So here's where we make the shift. If oversharing is costing you money, opportunities, and mental peace, what's the alternative? It's not about becoming secretive or lying about your situation. It's about moving from public processing to private progress. When someone asks why you're not joining them for an expensive dinner, you don't need to say, "I can't afford it, I'm drowning in debt." You can say, "I'm not doing expensive dinners right now. I'm focusing on some financial goals." Same honesty, completely different energy. One position broadcasts weakness and invites pity. The other communicates strength and purpose. One costs you opportunities, the other creates them. Look, here's what I want you to do starting today. Step 1, for the next 30 days, commit to financial privacy, not secrecy, privacy. When the urge to share a financial struggle comes up, pause, ask yourself, am I sharing this to get help solving it, or am I sharing this to feel better about staying stuck? Step 2, identify your financial confession circle. Who are the people you regularly talk to about money struggles? I want you to notice if those conversations ever lead to actual progress, or if they just make everyone feel better about staying where they are. Step 3, redirect that sharing energy. Every time you feel the urge to tell someone about your financial struggle, write it down in a private journal instead. Then write one action you could take to address it, just one. And here's the key, take that action before you allow yourself to discuss the problem with anyone. Step 4, get real help. If you genuinely need guidance, invest in it. Talk to a financial advisor, a therapist, a mentor. People who have the expertise and the objectivity to actually help you change, not just validate where you are. Step 5, rewrite your money story. This is the big one. Start noticing the narrative you tell yourself about money. Are you someone who's always struggled, or are you someone who's building something better? Because I promise you, your brain will work to make whatever story you tell yourself come true. Here's the thing that nobody wants to hear. Change is lonely at first. When you stop participating in the "we're all broke" conversations, some people in your life are going to feel uncomfortable. They might accuse you of being secretive or judging them. They might stop inviting you to things, and that's going to feel terrible. But here's what I need you to understand. That discomfort is the price of admission to a different financial reality. You cannot build wealth while maintaining the identity and social patterns of someone who's broke. You just can't. And yes, you might lose some friends in this process, but the friends you lose are the ones who needed you to stay stuck so they could feel better about their own situation. Those aren't friends, those are anchors. Let me bring this home with some numbers because the math here is stunning. Let's go back to that earlier example, $60,000 income, $15,000 in credit card debt. We said that by keeping quiet and focusing on actually solving the problem instead of talking about it, you could save $4,200 in interest. But let's extend this out. Once you pay off that debt, if you invest that $750 a month you were using for debt payments at a conservative 8% annual return, in 20 years you'll have $440,000. In 30 years, $1.1 million. That's what's actually on the line here. Every conversation where you reinforce your broke identity is potentially costing you a 7-figure retirement. And it's not just about the money you save and invest. When you stop broadcasting financial struggle, you start showing up differently. You carry yourself with more confidence. You become someone people want to invest in, promote, do business with. The opportunities that open up are impossible to quantify, but they're real. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. If you've made it this far in the video and you're feeling defensive, that's probably a sign that this message is for you. Because people who have healthy relationships with money and financial privacy don't get defensive about this stuff. They just nod along because they already figured it out. But if this hit a nerve, if you're realizing that you've been using oversharing as a coping mechanism instead of actually dealing with your finances, that's actually good news. Because awareness is the first step to change. You have a choice right now. You can click away from this video, keep doing what you've been doing, and in 5 years, have the exact same financial struggles you have today. Or you can make the uncomfortable decision to shut up and actually fix the problem. Here's what I want you to remember. Your financial situation is not who you are. It's just where you are. And where you are can change, but only if you stop building an identity around struggle and start building one around progress. Stop telling everyone you're broke. Stop making it part of your personality. Stop bonding with people over shared financial failure. Start making different choices. Start saying no to things that don't serve your financial goals. Start becoming the kind of person who has their act together, even if you're not quite there yet. Because here's the secret, you don't become financially stable and then start acting differently. You start acting differently, and that's what makes you financially stable. If this video helped you see something differently about how you talk about money, hit that like button and subscribe because we're going to keep having these uncomfortable but necessary conversations about what it really takes to build wealth. And if you want to go deeper on this, drop a comment below and tell me, what's one financial struggle you've been oversharing that you're going to start handling privately instead? Let's hold each other accountable. Thanks for watching. Now go be quiet and get to work.